If you're new to fishing and you walk into a tackle store, you will see a huge variety of different lures, different sizes, different shapes, different patterns. Today we're going to be talking about many of the common categories of lures and how they work. The first one I'll talk about is the bass jig. These are usually between 1/4 ounce and 1 ounce, and they have these bristles on the front to make it a weedless bait. So they're designed to throw into heavy cover like brush and heavy vegetation. You can drag them through there and the plants and brush will slide off of here instead of getting caught on the hook. The part in the back here is called the trailer. It is a plastic bait that's meant to imitate a crayfish or a minnow or a lizard, and it's designed to throw a little bit more action to the jig and entice a strike from a big bass. The next lure is a simple jig. Jig heads come in all different colors and sizes, and they allow you to put any kind of a plastic bait on the jig and imitate a worm or a minnow or a crayfish or anything. So you can just put it right on the jig. Now you have a plastic worm. You could also mount a plastic minnow on there. You could put a crayfish on there. You could put a lizard on there or anything else that you're trying to imitate. The next bait looks kind of like a bass jig with a metal plate on the front. This is called a chatterbait. It sends out a lot of flash from this metal blade and also a ton of vibration as this thing goes back and forth. So it's used in cloudy water or areas where you're trying to provoke a strike from an aggressive fish. Similar to that is the spinnerbait. Spinnerbaits have one hook and they have a wire frame that carries a blade or two away from the bait. These are designed to be pretty weedless as well. They have this frame that sort of deflects plants away from the hook, and each of these blades spins around the frame to create a lot of flash and vibration. The next bait is called a spoon. Spoons are usually made out of metal and they can be silver, gold, green, any color you can imagine, and sometimes they're designed to look like a certain kind of bait fish. They throw out a lot of flash, especially when it's a silver or gold polished style like this, and they create a lot of vibration in the water. These are commonly used for pike, muskie, salmon, and they actually work pretty well for a lot of other species. One of my favorite baits is the inline spinner. So instead of having a frame like a spinner bait, the inline spinner has a single straight wire, usually some beads along it, and then a big shiny blade that spins around the spinner. They can be dressed with a hair tail like this, or sometimes the hook is just empty. This is one of the most versatile baits, I think, to catch a huge variety of different species, and they come in sizes anywhere from about 1 inch long to 7 or 8 inch bucktails for muskie. The next group of baits here is the crankbaits. Crankbaits come in a huge variety of different sizes and styles. Some of them are shallow diving and some are deep diving. This one is a shallow diver because it has a very small plastic lip on the front. So this probably dives about 3 to 5 feet depending on how much line you have out. Same thing with this one. This is a Rapala floating minnow, and then we have a couple of flicker shads here. This is a deep diving flicker shad because it has a very long lip, And as you drag this through the water, it tends to carve its way downward. And this one will dive to about 12 feet. This one here is a jointed flicker shad, so it has two sections to the body. It also has a very long lip, so we know it's a deep diving one. And it is one of many crankbaits that has rattles inside. So as you shake it, it makes a lot of vibration because of the little beads that are inside the body shaking around, making noise. All right, next we have an example of a topwater bait. This is a frog, obviously, and frogs are designed to be thrown into lily pads and other heavy vegetation and just kind of bounced along. You're trying to imitate a frog, so you just pull it along, twitch it, so it looks like a frog just hopping along through the pads or over the vegetation. Very effective bait for bass, for pike, and a lot of other species. Then we have a couple of different swim baits. Swim baits come in soft plastic and hard plastic. This is a mimic minnow where the jig head is actually integrated into the bait. It's meant to be paired with this particular tail. Swim baits often have this little plastic paddle tail at the end, which gives it a really nice action in the water. This one here is a hard plastic Savage Gear 4-play minnow. It's 4-segmented. Has a shallow lip on it, so you know it's going to dive a few feet. And it has these 4 segments that move in a way that resembles the way that a bait fish would swim. I hope this was helpful to understand some of the main categories of lures that are out there. If you have any questions, drop those in the comments below. Consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already, and good luck fishing.